Stugatz here. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, like miso butter salmon and lo mein noodles with cucumber and charmed tomatoes, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within a year, so you'll never get bored. Customize your recipes each week based on your preferences. Blue Apron has several delivery options so you can choose what fits your needs. And there's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Stugatz. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Stugatz, STUGOTZ. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Welcome aboard Delta Airlines. Please enjoy your flight, and thanks for choosing Delta.
Jody Avirgan here. Thanks for listening to ESPN Film's 30 for 30 podcasts from the producers of the award-winning 30 for 30 series. These new audio documentaries are an incredible collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. It's really a win-win. Delta Airlines makes your travel experience easy and enjoyable with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And ESPN's 30 for 30 podcasts make your in-flight time rich with stories that will keep you coming back for more. So sit back, relax, and keep listening to some of the most compelling sports stories ever told.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz Podcast.
We will talk about John Bones Jones and Daniel Cormier in a second because I find everything that's happening there fascinating, including John Bones Jones saying, and he's as good a fighter as I've ever seen, period. Him coming out loud and saying here, as he's toward the tail end of a career where he's wasted a lot of years and just doing the Conor McGregor thing. Conor McGregor being a pioneer and clamoring for the circus act because he's going to wipe the floor with Brock Lesnar. But Brock Lesnar is so big. I mean, John Jones can beat legitimate heavyweights who are good mixed martial artists. Brock Lesnar is not a good big mixed martial artist. He's just a giant, scary person.
Is that the next fight?
Yes. Well, that's what he's clamoring for.
Right.
What he's doing the Conor McGregor thing. It'll be a super circus fight, him fighting someone 40 pounds heavier than him. It's a smart play by him because there's nobody in his division interesting enough or good enough to do anything with him.
That's a fight that actually does not need Dana White or the UFC to be promoted. And we know you went into detail about John Jones's icy relationship with Dana. That's a good power play move for Bones Jones if he tries to do that independent of the UFC. And Brock's all about power and leverage. I do think you're discounting Brock's fight ability a little bit. You got to take the 40 pounds into account. And he got sick, which really hurt his in-ring performance. He almost died. A healthy Brock Lesnar has really only lost his first UFC fight against Frank Mir. And after that, he ran into health issues. But he's a very good fighter.
Yes.
He's a monster.
Yes.
He is the beast.
He's a wrestler. Yes, he's a wrestler. And he's very strong. But anyways, people will watch it because it's a circus act. And it will be a monster fight. And I love a lot of things about it. One of the things I love about it is, bleep it, we're all dirty. Everything's dirty. Like at the height of our sport, everything's dirty. These are drug users. They've been banned for a variety of drugs. You got Cyborg over there in her division. She's a steroid freak. Like now everything's just dirty. It's sewage. It's just sewage everywhere.
And most people don't care. They'll still watch. They want to be entertained.
Go ahead and throw the reckless speculation sounder up there to protect me here on the Cyborg accusation.
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good now. I'm not certain you were good a minute ago, but now you're good.
Okay, well, she's shooting horse steroids into her face.
Good.
I don't know that. I'm just speculating. Reckless. But anyway, we'll get back to that in a second because his reaction, Daniel Cormier's reaction after that fight. Joe Rogan has apologized because he was interviewing a concussed fighter. Daniel Cormier started weeping right in the octagon. And to me, this part of it is so interesting, Stugat. This is the part of this that is interesting to me. Daniel Cormier is an exceptional champion. He's an exceptional fighter. But he's clearly not good enough to beat John Bones Jones. And to come upon that realization has to be such a heartbreaking thing in an individual sport. Because ultimately, Kevin Durant came to that realization, right? What I have here is not good enough. Doesn't mean I'm not good enough. What I have here is not good enough. I got to go someplace else to get it. LeBron James made that decision, 2010. What I have here is not good enough. But when you're in team sports, you can come to that realization and then change it. Correct. When you're in an individual fighting sport, you come to that realization. It is heartbreaking in a way that will make you sob in an octagon, whether you're concussed or not, because he cares so much and they hate each other. Right. Those two guys, more than any two people in sports, Cormier and Jones hate each other, but Jones is just too good. And it must be so hard to be Daniel Cormier and to be all the right and good things about sports, to overcome everything he's overcome in his life, just tragedy after tragedy, and then you go into the octagon against somebody who's a drug abuser, who has wasted his talent, and you just look across the octagon and you know you're not good enough. You're just not good enough. He's longer than you, and he's just better at everything than you are.
Right, do all the right things, and your best is still not good enough to beat a guy who's not doing all the right things. That has to be tough. Even if you eliminate a lot of that, it's still tough. Like Andy Murray, who's worked very hard, he's just not good enough. Federer's just better. Right,
and in the individual sports, though, that's something that's such a heartbreaking realization, because you can make all sorts of rationalizations for your team. If your team's not good enough, well, we got bad bounces, this guy didn't do his job, without it being a reflection in the mirror.
Right.
But when it's an individual sport, and Bones Jones, as part of Trash Talk, is saying, last time I beat you, I didn't even train. I was on cocaine all weekend. For that guy to be that much better than you, and you could beat everybody, but not that guy. You're never going to beat that guy.
Right.
You could get in hit with him 10 times. You're going to lose no matter how much you care, no matter how hard you train, no matter how motivated you are, no matter your fuel is hatred, and you are just inspired to beat this guy. And then he just breaks down sobbing in the ring. And I don't know if that's concussion. He's emotional. He's sensitive. He cares a lot. So I don't know what was happening there, although I know Joe Rogan had to apologize for interviewing him in that condition.
Kind of came off like, remember this really awkward Luke Kuechly injury during that primetime game where he was weeping and you didn't know if he was weeping because his season was coming to an over?
No, it's a concussion symptom. It's the sobbing is it can be a symptom of a brain injury. I just found all of that this weekend to be interesting because Bones Jones is too good for everybody in his division. And so now he's saying, bring me Lesnar. And that'll be more of an interesting fight than McGregor-Mayweather. It'll be more interesting.
I have no doubt that fight will be more interesting.
Do they fight it at catch weight? Jones said something along the lines of, get your bleep kicked by a guy who's 40 pounds lighter than you. Are they going into that fight with the weight discrepancy? Because
no, Bones will fight at 210 or 215. He'll be all jacked up. You've seen him put on Instagram when he gets all swollen, when he gets like he could fight at heavyweight.
Right. I don't disagree with you, but his frame, he has a ceiling. And I don't think his ceiling in terms of how big and strong he can get is Brock. If they're just both trying to get as big and strong as possible, Brock's going to win that.
Cormier couldn't. Cormier is an accomplished wrestler, and he could not get Bones Jones down at any point that they fought. And Brock Lesnar, the only way Brock Lesnar can make that a fight is if it's on the ground and he's just laying on him. But it's so hard to get John Jones down.
Right. We've never seen anybody quite as strong as Brock Lesnar in that game, outside of a few handful. I'm with you. I think Bones Jones wins a fight. I do think we're kind of judging Brock Lesnar after he got 13 inches of his colon removed and holding some of those losses
Mike,
against him.
I think this is inspired marketing genius from Jones following McGregor. He's going to the circus freak, to the beast. He's going to
the big attraction.
Yes, but Stugatz, he's not going to the best fighter. He
knows
not to fight. He knows not to fight against the heavyweight guys who aren't Brock Lesnar. He knows not to fight the guys who have beaten Brock Lesnar.
Right. It's curious. I'd be curious to find out who came up with this idea, because you're giving all the credit to Bones Jones right now, and I'm not necessarily sure that's the case, considering Brock's history of leveraging mixed martial arts against WWE.
It's smart.
This is a wrestling
It's
move.
smart because it's going to. He is doing the Conor McGregor. I'm going to fight the circus act. It's come watch me fight at the circus, not MMA. Just watch me fight the toughest guy at the barbecue.
Right, the biggest draw, I guess. But who would be the next? Like, if you just wanted to fight the best fighter, who would that guy be?
I mean, you could go through the heavyweight division. There are probably 10 guys who are better than Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's, for his career, what is he, 5-4 as a UFC fighter?
It looks like he's 5-3. 5-3. But those guys, if he chose a better fighter, they're not going to be the attraction that Brock
Correct.
Lesnar
No,
is.
that's why
Right.
it's smart.
Right.
That's why.
Very smart.
But can you imagine? I want to get back to the Cormier thing. He was sobbing in the octagon. This is a tough man. Like, I'd like to talk to him. I've got a good relationship with him. Allison, can you reach out to him? See it? Cormier's the guy I'd like to talk to today, not Bones Jones, because it was heartbreaking knowing how much he cares and knowing how much he hates Jones. Can I ask you guys a different question? Are you guys ever surprised by this? I know that in selling fights, guys have to talk and say mean things. But after fights, the respect of two guys who are going into a ring or an octagon, stripped down to nothing but their courage, they both end up in a place afterward where they are singing the praises of the other, even though they clearly hate each other. This isn't a put on like McGregor and Mayweather. McGregor and Mayweather don't hate each other. They're just doing this to sell you the carnival.
Sure.
These guys actually hate each other. And to me, it's always interesting the way that fighting, that kind of fighting is so noble and the fighters respect each other so much that even afterward that Bones Jones is saying, he's a champion for life. I salute him. That guy. I respect that guy after saying bleep you to him 400 times selling these fights.
Yeah, but as you pointed out, that's to sell the fight. And then afterwards, whether you hate him or not, there's still a respect factor because who can relate to what it is that Daniel Cormier does better than John Bones
No, but
Jones,
I always
right?
find that interesting, right? Because that's not an act with those two. They really dislike each other, and the act of fighting is something that brings out the mutual respect in two people, no matter who's won.
Lesnar's record is a little fluky because he had a win just stripped his last fight because of,
Like, he should have all his wins stripped. Come on, man. He's a steroid monster. Like, throw that out there for me again, please, so that I can speculate recklessly. Like, that's one of the things I love about this. Like, bleep it.
Throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
Brock's using elephant hormones. I mean, I don't know that, but I'm speculating it recklessly.
Well, that's why you're doing it under this umbrella.
He's actually in real life 175 pounds.
Seems to be overrated. 5-3. I mean, he beat The Undertaker. That's probably his biggest victory to date. Who's he beating? UFC. Go ahead and name someone.
Frank Mir.
Frank Mir. How old was Mir at the time?
The greatest heavyweight in the history of the UFC for a championship in dominating fashion. And
Out of his prime, though. Yeah. Couture, please.
Couture was old. Yes.
But he was also champion at the time.
Yeah. He lost to Cain Velasquez and Alistair Overeem, who I've
He
never
lost to
heard
Cain
of.
Velasquez after he lost.
That's another steroid. That's another horse hormone guy.
That one, we can shut the music off.
Wait a minute. I own all of them. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Come on, man. Look at him
Guillermo,
before.
wait a minute. Put it on the poll. Guillermo, who's using more steroids? Cyborg? Brock Lesnar?
I think we have to be careful with the word.
No, put it up there. No, at Levitard
If you were
Show.
speaking with qualifier.
No, Alistair Overeem, put him on the poll. Alistair Overeem, Brock Lesnar, Cyborg. Who's using more steroids?
If you were recklessly speculating as a caveat.
Oh, stop it, corporate suit.
You would agree, though, right? Overrated? I mean.
No, I would not agree.
Shane Carwin.
No.
Hey, name someone that he's beaten. Someone with a big name. Brock Lesnar, please. More like Croc Lesnar. Come on. So overrated.
More like Croc.
And you were setting yourself up for that one,
Hey,
too.
he's 5-3. Give me a break. He's a big draw, though. Oh, I put on my reading glasses.
I got to get into this in a second. There's Stugat's first birthday. Got $2 reading glasses. Go ahead, read them. Let's see if the reading gets any better.
Hey, buddy, the wait is over. It's the 2017 Sui Awards, starting August 21st. The Sui Awards. Don Le Batard.
I feel like everything we just did was racially insensitive, and I'm good with it.
Stugats.
It is deadline day.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Brock Lesnar. We're like Brock Lesnar. Catch me and Mike Gola Jr. every Sunday for Weekend Observation, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern on 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Brock Lesnar.
We'll get into this Kyrie Irving stuff. Would you guys, Guillermo, put it on the poll. Would you pay a monthly fee to watch NBA players at the weddings of other NBA players? Yes or no? Would you pay a small monthly fee, $3.99, to watch NBA players at the weddings of other NBA players?
I'm all in on that, man. That's a cheap price for that. That's seriously
$3.99 a month. You think that's cheap?
I'd pay top dollar to see those guys.
I get every wedding.
Yeah, every wedding.
Single.
Oh, you want the full package?
Yeah,
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes.
I can't just be waiting around for the good players.
All right, so you get every wedding. You think that I'm pricing it too low?
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, but how do I get to watch the videos? The way that Snapchat video of Steph and Kyrie made the rounds, or do I get to listen to every conversation?
You get to listen to every conversation. You get to see it unfold as it's happening.
Yeah, there are about 12 cameras set up in the banquet hall.
What should I charge for that?
I think $9.99 with a year-long commitment is fair.
No, because you really only want the summer months. Pay
wedding season
$10 a month, for February.
Yeah, no one's getting married during the season.
That's a good point.
But that's where the business sense comes in. You give it a year-long commitment.
Well, what if it was a year-long thing where you're privy? It doesn't have to just be in a wedding setting, that you're just privy to all conversations that NBA players are having with one another.
Is it NBA players only, or do I get coaches?
Well, hold on a second. Let's rewind for a second, because I can't trust Mike Ryan's business acumen on where to price these things at all. I'm about to tell you a story about Mike Ryan from the weekend that is horribly embarrassing, but it explains why it is that he can't be put in charge of any of this stuff. So Mike Ryan was in New York this weekend, and he goes in, and a guy is very nice to him in the sales department of some sort of grooming operation and sells him a brush. Mike Ryan feels guilt about buying a beard brush, but buys the beard brush only and exclusively because this salesperson was so nice to him. But Mike Ryan thought the beard brush was going to cost $10, gets to the front, it costs $65. It's a tiny brush. Mike Ryan feels shame, but not enough shame and cheapness to put it back. He hatches a scheme in his mind and decides that he's going to return the brush when he gets back to Miami, so that he's going to take care of that guy there, but because he's never going to have to see the guy again, he's getting now a thumbs up, a sausage thumbs up from Stugats, which is all, for all of us, the worst ally you can have on any of these things. Anytime Stugats says heady play or way to go, we all feel deep, deep shame.
I think Stugats is strong in you. Did you feel like, hey, I'm doing something Stugats would do? This isn't good?
I think all you're seeing is the sinister portions of this. At the heart of it is I didn't want to hurt the guy's feelings after I chatted him up for 20 minutes.
The road to Art Briles is paved with good intentions. So, Guillermo, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Is Mike Ryan a cheap coward for returning his beard brush in Miami?
Also, is $65 too much for a beard brush?
Sure is. And that guy gets a commission? Is that how it works?
He gets like $6.50 that Mike Ryan now. Right. Like, he's all excited because he gets 10%. He gets $6.50 on his commission, which will then be revoked. He's going to fall to his knees, cursing in the grooming establishment. Mike Ryan shaking a fist because he loses his $6.50 once he finds out that it's been returned in Miami.
Is it going to come across the wire that it was a return in Miami?
Yes.
It's just unbelievably lame. So many different kinds of lame. I can't even explain it to you. But as an added bonus, it's also cheap.
There's several people in our audience that would not cancel the transaction after it got run.
Oh, I would have given the guy a tip. I would have said, hey, you're a very nice guy. Here's $10. I'm not buying this brush. It's $60. That's it. We're done.
Oh, see, that's a good deal. Now, that's interesting what Stugats is saying there. I don't believe him, but Stugats is saying that he would just give $10 and then leave the place with nothing.
Yeah.
I have a worse story. I was at Dolphin Mall, and I was approached by some people, and they were telling me stories about adopting a kid in another country. And they were collecting money and all this stuff. So I thought, okay, whatever. Like, I listened to them for like 20 minutes. I was kind of in a rush, but like, you know me, I can't say no to people.
I can picture you being very bad in those situations. I'm very bad in those situations. People around me always make fun of me because I get sucked in by the scammers and the hucksters all the time.
Well, it was terrible. And they were telling me all these good stories. And I'm like, man, I got to go. I'm trying to buy a duffel bag, whatever. So they talked to me for like 15, 20 minutes. So then they finally lay on me at the end because I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll give them like $5 or something, and then that'll be the end of this. So then they like asked me for my credit card, which I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing that, but I did it anyways. And I signed up to sponsor a child in another country for life for like $30 a month or something. And I was like, whoa, this seems like a lot. Now, I didn't tell them that. I was thinking it in my head. And I thought, like, I'll give them the wrong email, and then, like, this will take care of itself. Not a big deal. But they had this whole thing down. They, like, scan my credit card on their iPad.
They're used to people like you who try and get out of the situation afterward. They lock you in.
They put me on the phone with someone, like, in their company. They, like, oh, do you want to see my license? I'm like, what do I need to see your license for? Like, this. Anyways, long story short, I ended up calling and canceling that whole sponsorship. I told them, like, I'll pay for a month and like $30, whatever. But after that, one-time donation.
Did they give you a picture of who you were sponsoring?
Not only did they give me a picture of who I was sponsoring, they're like, oh, him again. People keep returning him.
Oh, wow. There is some child starving because you're a jerk.
Splash!
Could have had some rice and beans that he can't have now because you canceled your order.
I fed him for a month.
Mm-hmm. Very nice of you.
Now he's
Do you miss him?
Now he's emaciated because you're a coward.
They give you like a name and a whole story too. It's terrible.
Of course, they got to humanize it. People keep returning him. That's a go-to move in that industry.
I don't believe that either.
I could feed a kid for a month with $30, and I'm out here buying beard brushes for $65.
Don Le Batard.
Is Mick Jagger a sex iguana? 73% of the audience said yes.
Yeah! That's a victory for the show!
Stugats.
Mick Jagger, sex iguana!
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Are you reading better?
I'm seeing better. I don't know if that's resulting. I haven't messed up yet, but I've gone, 3 consecutive updates and some billboards without messing up before. But I'm seeing better. It's life-changing. It really is.
We're getting old around here. A lot of things are happening to make that be known. Stugat's getting $2 reading glasses for his birthday. Among those things, Mike Ryan getting something for his feet for his anniversary, 6-year anniversary. There's some aging going around this show. And what I want to get into with you guys is we've always been the young show. Wherever it is that we've been the young show in spirit, if not in age. And I never feel my age because I've got precious few responsibilities. My responsibility basically in life is to get here on time. Yeah. That's it. So I don't feel like an adult. And in spirit, I live my life like a young man, even though I'm not a young man. But I saw a couple of things happen this weekend that I found interesting in terms of how quickly things get old and people get old, and specifically how different young people are in where and how they view things with old people. There's always the next rock and roll that's going to be embraced by the children and frowned upon by the adults. And there are 2 places where this is happening right now that I found interesting. One is LeVar Ball. Kids love LeVar Ball. Parents don't. Kids love the way this dude is behaving because he's a clown show and they don't care about the misogyny. They don't care about the stuff that is bothering your parents. Kids love that he is rebellion. But there's another place that it's happening that's surprised me. And it's here. Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving are making fun of LeBron James's dancing during workouts at the wedding of Harrison Barnes. And it got me to thinking, man, LeBron's the old one.
Yep.
Like there's a new generation coming for LeBron that feels that ecosystem is so cruel and so competitive, and it goes so quickly, Stugats, where at the top of the key, Allen Iverson is clowning Michael Jordan at the top of the key, and he's referring to it as clowning Michael Jordan because he's crossing him over. And that's what's happening. Is LeBron James now corny? Just because of age. Just because the next generation's coming and they don't mind making fun of him. Like, what was happening at that wedding? While it's not a big deal, it's just a couple of guys goofing off. The fact that it's Kyrie with the champions, that with Steph Curry, and that they're making fun of LeBron James and the way that he dances during his workout.
Right. I mean, LeBron's 32 and Steph is what, like 28? Kyrie's 25. What really made now? Keep in mind, LeBron did that last year to the Golden and Kyrie to the Warriors after, or 2 years ago after they beat him in the NBA Finals. So they took some shots at Steph Curry. What made this hurt for LeBron is the fact that Kyrie Irving took part in it. But yeah, maybe he's corny with the younger players.
What I'm saying is, Stugat, somewhere along the line, Michael Jordan became dad jeans. Somewhere along the line, Michael Jordan, instead of a fashion icon, became someone who was wearing your father's jeans up to his nipples.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that is now presently, that LeBron James is now headed toward whatever that is, which is the new guys don't have the same kind of respect for the old heads. It's weird to think of LeBron James in those terms because he spent a decade at the top of everything in sports.
Right.
But LeBron James is now one of the older guys who can be mocked for his corniness by the younger guy.
Yeah, he is. He's like Carmelo, and yeah, he's part of that.
But
Dwayne
it happened
Wade.
so fast,
Yes.
right? Dwayne Wade is all of a sudden at the finals in a jumpsuit on the sidelines, and he looks like some sort of, I don't even know, like some 80s hip-hop guy.
I think 3 years ago, you wouldn't dare mock LeBron James the way those guys did over the weekend. Even 3 years ago.
All I'm saying is it happens fast. You get replaced in that, and it's not happened yet to LeBron James, but we're headed there.
Right.
We're headed there toward him being the old head. He used to be the cool thing, no longer the cool thing.
Yeah. I mean, Steph Curry should relax a little bit. It took Kevin Durant for him to beat LeBron James. And as far as Kyrie Irving is concerned, I mean, that's awful, man. I don't care how bad it is with LeBron James. You don't do that. Hey, Kyrie, you were there, too. They beat you, too. You lost to them as well. In fact, you were dreadful in games 1 and 2. Please. That just stings. Like, seriously, I'm certain what really made LeBron upset, if indeed he is upset, I'm certain he is upset because I believe him to be sensitive. What makes that really hurt is your teammate sitting right next to the guy who beat you in the NBA Finals, your teammate sitting there laughing, encouraging, and enjoying that. That is a weak look and a weak job by Kyrie Irving. At the very least, have enough respect for the guy who made you. Because, Kyrie, you forget what you looked like and what your teams looked like before LeBron James came and joined you.
Well, this is what I would say in response to that. And we talked some about this last week, Stugotz. If you're Kyrie Irving, you don't have any real power in this situation because you're under contract. So where do you get your power from? Make it messy.
Right.
It's the only way to get your power. The power is in doing this. Make it messy so LeBron's last year in Cleveland is something that Dan Gilbert has to worry about. LeBron's feelings are something that Dan Gilbert, you want out of there? How badly? How badly do you want to be unprofessional enough to actually instigate the things that forces their hand on this and get you out of there? Because this would be a start. The next step on this is Kyrie Irving putting words on, this is why it's hard to play with LeBron. This is the truth of the matter. This is why I don't feel good about this. But this is a step in the handbook of how it is you get out of there when you don't have any real power. Make it messy.
I mean, but you have to do the dance video. Like, that has to be a part of it. You can't deliver that message without doing that.
No, but Stugotz, what I'm saying is there is no perfect way to deliver that message. Even if you're truth-telling, you're going to get people to take sides on it. And they're going to say you're unprofessional once it is you go public with any of it. So it's better to do it passive-aggressively for now, singing I'm Coming Home from China. I'm Coming Home being the signature song in one of LeBron's, in his return to Cleveland.
Yep.
And now this, I'm not saying it's calculated. I'm saying that if you want out of there, this would be a pretty good way to do it if you were trying to be calculated. And the next step on this is keep making it messier.
I guess you're right. If I'm LeBron, I'm like, listen, wow, this guy really wants out of here. And I'm telling Dan Gilbert, do not get him out of here. I keep him here. He's miserable playing with me. Too bad. Make him play with me one more year.
Texter writes in, my girlfriend bought blueberries last week. Every time she brings up the blueberries, I yell out the phrase, some blueberries.
Blueberries.
She hasn't asked me why it is that I keep screaming this out.
Blueberries.
I guess she's too busy being annoyed at my following her every statement with a Codyism.
Blueberries.
Example, honey, I'm going to walk the dog.
Blueberries.
To which I reply,
Blueberries.
Walking it.
Don Batard.
Did you love The Joker's Wild? 61% of the audience said no.
Oh, you damn young people, soaring with so much ignorance.
Stugats.
You don't even know what we're talking about. The Joker's Wild is the truth, man. Stay woke.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Texter writes in, your boy Sedano has LeVar on again. This is beginning to stop looking smart and start looking like enablement. Sedano does a show in Los Angeles. LeVar Ball is bigger there than he is anywhere. I know many of you are bothered by LeVar Ball, and I've talked about before him being an imperfect anarchist, right? Because you can like and support the spirit of what LeVar Ball does and then object individually to certain things that he's doing because he's an imperfect anarchist. I prefer he be a wrestling villain that paint within the lines.
Right. But clearly he's not. So
he's not, and young people love that he's not. Like that AAU stuff with his team, that's crazy, Stugats. That's like tapping into all the Kardashian stuff where he's getting these huge crowds to go out to AAU games. LeBron was turned away from that game. 7 rows deep, an AAU game involving his high school son and the second best high school prospect in the country. I think his name is Zion Williamson. And LeBron couldn't get in.
It's crazy.
And so people want to be around the famous, the infamous, the polarizing. And I could like the spirit of what this guy is, attacking the establishment without liking everything that he does. And I don't like everything that he does. And he shouldn't have the power from Adidas or anyone else to kick a woman referee out of a game because she teed him up and he doesn't like her. And then afterward, he's doing the stay in your lane thing again.
Well, is the problem him? The problem certainly is him, but there is a level of Adidas maybe enabling him that has people bothered, right?
Well, he's not perfect. Like, he's not perfect in the cartoonish way that he does this stuff. But I get why it is many of you object to him. I also don't think the media should stop enabling him. Why should we stop enabling him?
Well, maybe you don't like some of the things that he's saying and represents.
Yeah, but so what? Floyd Mayweather's about to make how much money, and I don't like a lot of the stuff he represents either.
That's totally fair. I mean, different form of entertainment, different level of celebrity and star, obviously, but I mean, you're asking a question, and I'm giving you the answer.
But here's the thing, though, Stugats. Here's the thing about this.
We're making him bigger and bigger, Dan, and giving him more and more platforms to, to espouse views that a lot of people don't like.
Correct. But this
and that are wrong.
I know, but yes, agreed. But this is what I would want in a utopian sports ecosystem. What I would want is put away your morality. Stop asking sports to raise your children. Treat it as entertainment and enjoy the hell out of John Jones against Brock Lesnar. Both of them roided out or coked out or whatever it is that they've been suspended for, because both of them have done God knows how many drugs to arrive in this place, been suspended for all manner of drug use. Let's just arrive there, and let's see if Brock or John Jones want to go to the octagon dragging a stick with a ball and spikes on it. Like, let's just go toward the sewage. If you were to eliminate the morality from this, the idea of sports raising your children, of being role models for the kids, and just make it fun and goofy.
Just enjoy it for what it is, entertainment.
Don't rain down judgment. Don't rain down. Look, man, this is what we just saw this weekend from John Jones and Daniel Cormier. The bad guy won. The good guy doesn't have a chance against that bad guy. Watch the overhead cameras of Daniel Cormier trying to get up after being kicked in the head by a John Jones leg. It takes like a minute and a half of him totally woozy, not knowing where he is. The hero lost. The villain won, and then called out another roided out villain, because that's the next super fight. And if you just take your moralizing out of it, it'd be a lot dirtier, but it'd be a lot more fun too. It'd be a lot less repressed.
But athletes, I mean, probably more so today than any other time, Dan, are big-time celebrities, and people are going to object when big-time celebrities who have platforms say things that they object to.
I get it. I understand. I understand. But
I agree with you. I just think you're asking a lot for people just to ignore some of the stuff.
I am asking a lot. But what I'm also objecting to is the idea that football keeps trying to dress up this thing that they do as some moral thing that appeals to pure America. And I'm saying that at its core, what you're watching is really dirty, disguised as pure.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Stugatz here. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, like miso butter salmon and lo mein noodles with cucumber and charmed tomatoes, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within a year, so you'll never get bored. Customize your recipes each week based on your preferences. Blue Apron has several delivery options so you can choose what fits your needs. And there's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Stugatz. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Stugatz, STUGOTZ. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Welcome aboard Delta Airlines. Please enjoy your flight, and thanks for choosing Delta.
Jody Avirgan here. Thanks for listening to ESPN Films 30 for 30 podcasts from the producers of the award-winning 30 for 30 series. These new audio documentaries are an incredible collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. It's really a win-win. Delta Airlines makes your travel experience easy and enjoyable with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And ESPN's 30 for 30 podcasts make your in-flight time rich with stories that will keep you coming back for more. So sit back, relax, and keep listening to some of the most compelling sports stories ever told.
Don Le Batard.
And finally, an unearthed letter from Tupac to Madonna reveals that he broke up with Madge in part because of a comment she made about rehabilitating rappers and because he feared his fans wouldn't accept him dating a white woman.
Stugatz.
Woman.
What did I say?
Women.
Oh, woman.
You always make the singular plural.
I don't know why I do that.
You always make the plural singular.
Yeah. So it's white woman. Bingo.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The group that supplied officials for the Adidas Uprising Summer Championships, in which LeVar Ball successfully petitioned for a female referee to be replaced after she gave him a technical foul on Friday, will terminate its 5-year relationship with the sneaker company due to the incident. After landing a punch in a European exhibition game for Italy, LA Clippers forward Danilo Gallinari suffered a right thumb injury that isn't expected to require surgery, league sources told ESPN. Gallinari will miss the Eurobasket tournament for Italy, but is expected to be fully recovered for the start of the Clippers training camp in September, sources said. And finally, the Strokes have clarified the status of their new album after guitarist Albert Hammond Jr.'s father, Albert Hammond Sr., let it slip that the band was recording with Rick Rubin. Turns out Hammond Sr. got prematurely excited, his son explained, over a series of tweets posted on Sunday. A lot of unknowns and nothing worth speaking about at this time. He added, while it's true, the Strokes met and played a few music ideas for Rubin to feel out a vibe. Even a theoretical album plan would be years away, if at all. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Stugatz's weekend observations are coming in 10 minutes. I don't feel like Mike Ryan's very confident about them. I don't feel like Stugatz is very confident about them. How do you guys feel about the weekend observations? I keep hearing accusations of mailing it in.
Yeah, these are the worst ones I've ever done. Like, there was a thread that I tried to put into the weekend observations. There's usually a thread, and I tried to force one in this week. And, man, when I say force, I really tried to force it in. And yesterday, I kind of was laughing, thinking it was funny. But now that Mike, and it has nothing to do with Mike's reaction, I have reread what I wrote down yesterday, and, man, are they bad. They are bad and not even close to funny.
All right, so should we bail on it? Guillermo, put it on the poll. Should we bail on Stugatz's weekend observations because he thinks they're bad? Yes or no?
Well, they're sponsored now because we do them every week, so we can't bail on it. We have to do it. I feel uneasy about this, and I don't want to reveal too much. I'm only going to peel the curtain back a little bit. We've been in this situation before, and I go to work hard on these observations, and I'm taken out of the show completely, and we're doing it the second to last segment of the show, and you've told me repeatedly, let Stugatz drown if they're bad. So we may let Stugatz drown here.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with that. I deserve it. It's all on me. I will drown. You guys will watch me.
Well, but...
No, it's fine. It is fun. It's a slow sports time, Dana.
I know, but we're signing up for, that's not the way I ever want to be doing radio. Just get me out of radio right now if we're doing something that's bad just because it's sponsored. And then I feel bad for the sponsor sponsoring something that's bad.
Well, no. We're doing it, and it's bad, and we're doing it because you'll be able to make fun of me. That's why we're doing it.
All right.
And that's something that this show could always fall back on.
Is it short at least?
It'd be shorter if we took out this awful, terrible thread.
All right. It's coming in 10 minutes either way because it's sponsored. But let's not do this anymore. Just because something's sponsored, let's have them be good or not do them.
Time now for Guillermo's epic sound of the day. It is going to be epic.
Well, what just happened here?
Hey, Dan.
Where did you come from?
Hey, Bill.
Training camp, am I right?
Wait a minute. This epic sound is also sponsored? Is that what's happening?
Dan, today's epic sound is an emotional family at Eagles training camp in North Dakota. From North Dakota, courtesy of WPVI.
It's awesome to be included in all this stuff. Excuse me. It's just great. It's, I guess, a dream. Once in a lifetime, maybe.
It's just awesome.
What made it so awesome?
Just being here. Being away from North Dakota, for us to be here, it's just great.
And to get to see Carson Wentz?
Yes, he's awesome. Such a role model for our kids and grandkids.
It was epic. Sound of the Day is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Upgrade to shaving with a fresh blade whenever you want for a fraction of the price. Join DollarShaveClub.com today.
Wait a minute.
What?
Were those people happy because they were out of North Dakota, or were they blubbering simply because they got to be around Carson Wentz, exemplary role model? All right. This brings me back to my original point, what we were talking about last segment.
It's just awesome.
What made it so awesome?
Just being here. Being away from North Dakota.
All right. All right. I want to get into this role model stuff, Stugatz, because end of July.
Yeah.
Some texters are writing in here. The damage is not done by empowering LeVar Ball. It's empowering 100 more future LeVar Balls. Then it's not funny or interesting or disruptive anymore. It just becomes annoying. Yeah, why are you using the word damage there? What damage? What's the damage of 100 LeVar Balls? Another guy writes in, to eliminate the morality is to eliminate the Jeremy Schaap heartfelt story of the athlete. You're asking to dehumanize the athletes by not judging them or not applying moralities. That's the only way they aren't role models to kids. You'll get it one day when you have kids. No, I won't. I will raise my own kids if I have them, and you shouldn't be looking for your role models anywhere beyond the dinner table. And if they gravitate toward the bad role models, teach them better.
There's still an if for you at this point?
Barely. But if I ever have kids, I'm not going to If I ever have kids, I'm not going to be the grandfather who tells them to be scared of LeVar Ball. I'm just going to teach them right and take my chances.
Grandfather is, I mean,
I don't think you're making there, buddy.
that's a lot of wishful thinking at this point.
Seriously, man.
I mean, you'd essentially already be a grandfather.
48-year-old grandfather?
You'd
That's
be
early.
pretty close,
That's
man.
young for a grandfather, man. Regardless, though, my larger point stands. If you eliminate the morality, you could still give people the Jeremy Schaap stories and the Tom Rinaldi stories. You could give them all of it and allow them to discern what it is that they like and they don't like. But you're telling me that you want the media to mythologize and scrub this stuff and to basically ban LeVar Ball. You're telling me that the media should clean this up for you and your children. And I'm telling you, get the hell out of here. That ain't my job.
That's definitely not the media's responsibility. It's your responsibility as a parent.
You raise your own kids, and granted, we in the media will put some people on television that don't deserve to be role models to your kids, and teach them better. Do your job, man. Don't ask LeVar Ball to do your job for you.
Second down and 9.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Raise your own damn kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll pay the $5 fine on tone.
That's the show we're doing today.
But raise your own damn kids.
Yeah.
But this guy's asking us to keep LeVar Ball away from you, to basically censor it. Censor LeVar Ball. Don't allow him to have media time because it's upsetting my children. Upsetting how I raise my children. Get the hell out of here, man.
Well, do you think he's deserving of all the media time?
I don't care. I like cartoons. I like fun. He's different enough that I don't mind giving him the platforms as if there's some sort of utopian, safe, pure space where we can only sell you the mythology. We can only sell you the stuff Derek Jeter and Tom Brady are selling you. We can't sell you any of the dirty deeds. Like, get out of here. I don't get it. I understand the difficulty in raising children, and I understand that your children will gravitate toward the stuff that's different, but raise them better. Like, yeah, they're going to be influenced outside of your home. Raise them best you can. And if there's still influence outside your home, your kid's a bum. Sorry.
It's simple.
It's not your fault. Sorry that your kids.
Jeez, career bachelor Dan Lebatard.
My God, this dude got this strong in you.
That's right.
Advice.
The kid's a bum. Your kid's a bum, man. If he gravitates toward LeVar Ball, your kid's got bad judgment and he's a bum.
Wow, that was a dad segment.
Amazing, man. Kids gravitate, dude. Like, I told you, a lot of this parenting stuff is luck. I mean, sometimes they leave you and leave the house, and there's nothing you can do about it. They make bad decisions.
I know, but think about the absurdity.
Like, gravitate towards LeVar Ball. What can you do?
No, but think about the absurdity of asking ESPN to limit LeVar Ball's camera time and microphone time because you don't like the impact it's having on your kid. Have ESPN. Like, do you think that comes with your subscriber fee? Like, you think $6.99 a month and also will take care of your parenting for you?
Nice.
Don Lebatard.
I'm telling you, we are good here. Trust me. I've never let you down.
Stugats.
It's like living a life. Imagine living your life, and every time you take a step, you know you might step on a landmine. That's my life. I'm married to a minefield, and he doesn't know that he's a minefield. It's just like, trust me, Dan, we got this, while cleaning the chocolate out of his teeth with his tongue.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Get to Stugats' mailed-in weekend observations in a second. Texter writes in, you're being a hypocrite when you say, let sports be entertainment, and put your moralities all over the place, that you do that when it comes to Kaepernick and other social issues when it relates to sports. You can't have it both ways. Yeah, I can. Watch me. Consistency is overrated. First of all, it's not hypocrisy. It's consistency that is your complaint, and consistency is overrated. And furthermore, I don't want Cap or anyone banned from sports. coverage, which is the thing that you guys are asking for. You want LeVar Ball, us not to give him the platforms.
Right. Well, I think what people are really saying, Dan, is how many times does he have to say something that you disagree with that's probably not right before you take the platform away from him? Because I think most people, what if LeBron James were saying some of the same things?
But Sugat saying things usually isn't terribly problematic. Some of them are. For example, what ends up happening, I don't know that guy's name, but it was the gay guy who wrecked his career with Bill Maher, and he said something about, he sounded like he was supporting pedophilia. And what's that guy's name? He's got a real long name. Anyways, he lost his book deal. And that's the consequence. You wait for that to be the consequence. You can pull sponsorships, you could pull money, and you could see if that changes the behavior. But how could you do any of that to LeVar Ball? Like, you could take away things from Bill O'Reilly if it's sexual harassment. But LeVar Ball is publicly out there as an anarchist and doesn't have any of the consequences that the kids have because LeVar Ball's a father. He's not tied to teams. There are certain things that you have to represent when you're an employee of a team. He's not. He's on the outer. He's just a gas bag. He's a cartoon gas bag that has no real link to sports other than his sperm.
I got this guy's name. It's Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, the consequences are you lose your stuff sometimes if you say the thing that's too dangerous.
Right. Friends call him Pop.
Let's go ahead and do Stugatz's mailed-in weekend observation.
There is no Pop in his name.
What is it? There's no. What do you?
Yiannopoulos.
Okay, excellent work.
Friends call him Paul. Yes.
Put your reading glasses back on. You're better when you have your reading glasses on.
No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my voice too.
Weekend observations are brought to you by Metro PCS. Get 2 free awesome LG K20 plus smartphones with 32 gigs of memory when you switch 2 lines to Metro PCS. Sales tax not included. Let's see if you can pick up on the thread here, Dan. Dan, just 38 days away until we find out if the Raiders are for real. Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh my God.
I'm thinking about all the nicknames that I'm going to butcher. Mitchell Trubisky. 3 fumbles in his first practice. Bust. Blake Bortles had 5 interceptions in 1 practice. No joke here. Just letting you know, during a practice in which no one is allowed to touch the quarterback, Blake Bortles threw 5 interceptions. Bust. David Price challenged Dennis Eckersley to show his face. David Price, he's a 62-year-old recovering alcoholic. Enough already. Move on. Dan, guess who's back? John Bones Jones. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Bones.
Bones who?
Bones is there.
Okay, very good.
If Rob Ninkovich played for any other team in the NFL, no one would know who he is, and no one would care that he retired yesterday. I mean, a day-long tribute on Twitter to Rob Ninkovich. Please. There's a Rob Ninkovich on every team in the NFL. As he was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I realized that the way to shield yourself from steroid conversations is by giving yourself an adorable nickname like Pudge.
Or being fat like Bartolo Colon.
Or that. I mean, imagine if Barry Bonds' nickname was Barry Baby Bear Bonds. I believe he'd be in the Hall of Fame. The Baby Bear. Jonathan Stewart said no one can cover Christian McCaffrey one-on-one. Jonathan, do me a favor. Stop being silly. Indians, Dodgers, World Series, collision course, 3-on-3 basketball league, bankruptcy, collision course.
Oh, dear God.
It's over. Iverson's not showing up to things he's supposed to show up to because he's busy in the casino, allegedly. That thing is over. 3-on-3 basketball league. Bankruptcy. Collision course. I had no idea Xavier Rhodes was worth that much money. And I have to be honest, when I first saw the headline, I thought it was Kerry Rhodes. Kyrie Irving mocking LeBron James with Steph Curry. Kyrie, you are coming dangerously close to never playing another game in the NBA. Headline, Marcus Wheaton had his appendix taken out. Hey, if LeBron wants to make you leave the NBA, then guess what happens? You'll no longer be playing in the NBA. Kyrie Irving, CBA, collision course. Is it still a CBA?
No.
Okay.
Are those women's glasses that you're wearing?
I think they are.
Oh, yeah.
My wife, for my 45th birthday, because I can't see anymore, she purchased a pair of $2 women's reading glasses. That's all. Kevin Durant says he hopes Kyrie Irving finds happiness wherever. Come on, KD. You know where wherever is. You just take a shortcut to easy streets. Mitchell having trouble with the Snapski. Brandon Jennings, Chinese Basketball Hall of Fame, collision course. Adrian Beltre, first ballot. Phoenix Suns, please don't be stupid. Cristiano Ronaldo, or as Greg Cody called him, Nonaldo. Mr. Woodcock, underrated movie, sneaky funny. Mitchell, cough up the ball ski. Mitchell has no hand ski. Mitchell, a deer in headlight ski. Mitchell, butterfinger ski. Stugatz, mailed it in ski. I have never had less interest in a baseball Hall of Fame class than I had for this one. Let me get this straight. The Ravens owner is considering signing a guy who knelt for the national anthem by consulting a guy who was once accused of murder. Steve Biscotti, when discussing whether or not the Ravens will sign Colin Kaepernick, said, pray for us. Little overdramatic. Pray for you. What the hell? Speaking of hell, Bryles. Dan!
You are getting so
Those
lazy.
are the mailed-in ski weekend observations.
Don Batard.
And Demolition Man is Drexler.
Absolutely not.
Die Hard can be Jordan.
Drexler.
Look, it's not a
Paul Millsap.
A couple more years. I mean,
No, you know what? You know what?
All-star.
You
Find
know
his
what?
way in.
No,
It's a
I
good
got
career.
it.
Stugatz.
I'll tell you what Demolition Man is. Demolition Man is Jamal McGlure. That's what Yes.
No! Now you have crossed the line.
What?
Get out.
That's disrespectful.
Unbelievable. This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Did you see what the Tigers did? You do not see this every day. The Tigers traded Alex Avila, their catcher, who's having a good season. His OPS is near 900. And the guy who traded him is his father. The general manager of the Tigers is Al Avila.
Not exactly a Doc Rivers situation.
How hard is that one to do? Could you do it? If you were the general manager, could you do it? Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. If you were the general manager of the Tigers, could you trade your own son?
I think I'd be able to. Here I am. I coach my daughter's lacrosse team, but I think if it was at a professional level, I'd prefer not having, and I was a GM or a coach, I'd prefer not having my son on that team. It just makes things complicated, man. Look what happened with Doc Rivers.
I know, but you trade your son?
I'd never sign my son.
I know, but this was not, Al Avila did not sign Alex Avila. Dave Dombrowski signed Alex Avila, and then Dombrowski left for Boston, and Al Avila was promoted to general manager of the Tigers.
So he inherited the situation?
He inherited his son. What do you do? How hard do you think that is? I mean, your job, technically, is to make the team better. The Tigers are selling, and so their catcher is having the best season of his career, and they just traded him. It's actually a smart move, unless Because it's your damn son. Like, then what the hell?
Right.
You've got to go. How do those conversations go in private when you're like telling your son? Is that your dad calling you? Does your dad deliver that news, or does an intermediary deliver that news?
I think your dad, at least I would. Now, this is terrible, but I think I would ask my son, hey, I'm going to trade you. We're terrible. Where do you want to go? What city do you like?
Allison, can you check it? Call Al, please. Call Al Avila. I'd like to talk to him.
All right.
I'd like to ask him. I've known him for a long time.
Son has to be happy, right? He went from a bad team in the Tigers to the Cubs. I mean, he's playing for the Cubs. He got shot at a World Series.
I don't know if he's happy or not. I mean, I don't know whether he liked working with his father. I know he's close to his father.
It's kind of a busy day for the GM of a team today, right?
Trade deadline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See if you can get him. Allison's good at her job. Look at this guy texting in. How about this one, Stugat?
Oh, boy.
You, Le Batard, are a slave to your company. LeVar makes money for ESPN. Spare us the BS, man, that you have some philosophical reason why you are cool with LeVar. Stop being a fake. You got me. I like LeVar because he makes money for ESPN. Not sure how he does that exactly, but okay.
Huge web stream numbers for that AAU game, right?
Yeah,
He's keeping ESPN afloat. LeVar Ball is keeping
ESPN 3.
Yeah, he is. I mean, record numbers on ESPN.
You trapped me, Texter. You see through me. I've been trying to camouflage it all this time, but you see through my corporate soul selling. I only like LeVar Ball because he makes money for the company. How did you figure that out? I was trying to disguise that so well. My company man leanings.
You did make a very good point before. He's not representing anything. So it's not a guy who's talking, who's a member of a team, who's a member of ESPN. He's a member of the Ball family. He's representing himself.
Well, that's what's great about it. See, I don't know how you guys feel about this portion of it, right? But I like that he's not only an anarchist, but an unapologetic anarchist. So when people are demanding an apology, he's like, nope. Not going to demand an apology. Why? Because I only represent me.
Yep.
I don't represent a team. I'm not taking money from anybody. From a shoe company, I'm not taking money from anybody.
It's not like he has a boss who's asking him to apologize. He's his own boss.
I don't like what he said. I like that he doesn't apologize for stuff, because if you're going to commit yourself to being the anarchist, be the anarchist.
Right. I mean, I hate some of the things that he says, and I totally respect your right to object to some of the things that he says, but I don't want him going away.
Well, but here's the thing, though. The people who want him going away, Stugat, you realize there's no actual way to punish him. You believe the actual way to punish him is stop giving him platforms. Those of you who believe that he can be punished believe that that's the way to punish him.
Yep.
But I don't know why the media would make that moral stand for you. I don't know if he's good. He is good copy. He's good sound.
Now, let's be honest. He'll find a platform. I mean, he's going to find a platform. Someone's going to offer him or give him the platform to say the things that he wants to say or be the person that he is.
But you've heard me say before, I'm all for wacky dads being a more part of sports. I'm all for wacky moms being more a part of sports.
Yes.
That's fine. We want to start quoting the siblings. If our personalities, I'm all for that. Why not? More the merrier.
I love when Kevin Durant's mom rushes to his defense against Stephen A. Smith. I thought it was fantastic. I'm with you. I want more of that. People just don't want more of LeVar Ball crossing the line.
Right. It's not that you object to the parents being involved. It's that you don't like the way this particular guy parents.
Al's not doing any interviews until after the trade deadline passes. It's kind of a busy day for him.
Time is that at?
4 o'clock.
4, okay.
That's not helpful.
You want to stick around?
Bomani will take him.
Babe?
Yeah.
Bomani will take him.
Tomorrow?
Would you like him tomorrow?
I mean...
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you'll take him tomorrow. Okay, good.
Yeah, I want to talk to Al Avila about what it was like to trade his son.
Right. What if there was nothing to it, though? What if it was just like, I don't know, I just traded him.
Then we'll hang up on Al Avila after a couple of questions. But what do you think? You think there was nothing to it? You think he just flippantly traded his son?
Is this a tomato thing? Avila or Avila?
I think it's Avila.
I think it's Avila.
Avila sounds nicer.
No, it's
Avila, yeah.
In Spanish, it's Avila? I thought in Spanish it's Avila.
English version.
Do you go Bob Villa or Bob Villa?
Oh, it's Villa.
Villa.
Where is Bob Villa?
Texter writes in, oh, biting sarcasm. Just eat it like you eat everything else that's in your path. You liked LeVar Ball because you thought it was all funny, but as he crosses the line, you know you look bad to the social justice warriors whose opinion you normally covet. Why can't I just like him? Like, why can't I just like the loudmouth?
Bob's in Miramar.
Ooh.
Whoa.
And he only has one L, so it's Bob Villa.
It's Bob. Okay. Okay.
It's Villa. Bob Villa.
Yeah, sure. Bob Villa.
I'm fascinated by this undercurrent. Why do you guys always assume stuff like this? Why do you assume that I'm the sellout? Why do you assume the most negative things possible that you can assume? Why assume that it's anything other than what it actually is, which is I've spent my entire career liking the guys who treat sports as entertainment? Why does it have to be something else? That LeVar's paying me, that LeVar's making money for ESPN, that it's corporate soul selling, that I'm not allowed to like a lot of what LeVar Ball does and then not like some of what LeVar Ball does.
You know what happens when you assume, Dan, right?
No, Stugatz, tell me.
You make an ass of you and me.
Dan Le Batard.
Called common sense reporting, Dan. Connect the dots.
Stugatz.
I would not describe your sense as common.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Another texter's on to me, and it might be time to get out, Stugatz. It might be time to get out of this business because the texters are on to me. All the camouflaging I do, they're seeing right through it. They're noticing my tendencies. They've done some advanced scouting, and so they can make accusations like this that are totally accurate because they see my true motives. Guy writes in, you are full of bleep. If LeVar Ball was white, you would be ripping him all day long. And clearly you're right. This is how I do these things. If you're white, I rip you. And if you're black, I defend you. And you've seen through it. I've been trying to conceal it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But now you finally see it. If LeVar Ball were exactly the same person, but he was on the Sam Sosa skin regimen, I would like him even less.
Well, they've cracked the code.
Yes.
Yep,
the
game is over.
The texters have figured it out. And let's just say it, I'm racist. Can we rename the show? Do some imaging. I want some imaging this week. Dan the Racist. Dan Le Batard the Racist and Stugatz. Do some imaging there. Let's stop with the curtain. Let's stop hiding under the white hood and just get it out there. I'm taking it off like a professional wrestler. I'm taking off the white hood that's not really the white hood because it's sort of a different kind of Klan member. It's more Wu-Tang Clan than Ku Klux Klan, but you understand.
Klux.
Thank you, Stugatz.
Say Klutz.
But my whole game's falling apart now. I don't know what to do because all the texters, I've been trying to hide for so long, and now...
That would be his clan, though.
Yeah.
Ku Klutz.
The Klutz, yes, that is mine. So you feel better?
Man, everybody thinks that Trump's ruining this country, and I'm like delighted by Trump and Mooch just because they're like, this is crazy.
Mooch.
Like, I am almost pro-anarchy over everything. Like, it's almost my top sensibility. Like, so much so that so many of you think Trump is ruining the country, and I'm like, man, this is funny. Like, it's crazy, but it's funny.
It's certainly entertaining. Mooch is
unbelievable. Are you kidding me with this? It is like they are looking for people that would actively make you laugh more than the last person. Oh, you thought Spicer was funny? Look at this.
Here's Mooch.
Here's Mooch. We'll give you 200 days of that, but you think we're going to do better than Spicer? No. We're going to go Mooch. Mooch is going to run Spicer off. Spicer's going to be like, I can't work with Mooch. And wait till you see what's after Mooch. It's going to be LeVar Ball. Then you're not going to know what to do. Like the next White House communications director is going to be LeVar Ball. And then what?
Can it get better than LeVar Ball?
Like, I'm just telling you, at the top of my list, the very top of my list, when it comes not just to the shows we do, but to life, The very top of my list, man, is jokes. like high up on my priority list. Like, never mind the welfare of the country or role model for your children. Where are the jokes? Like, where can I find those? And where can I find? And furthermore, my second sensibility, it might be at the top of the list. The top of the list on first sensibility is jokes. And then the second thing is, where are the people who get mad at the jokes? Bring me them. Let's find them so I can lecture them and condescend them and get $5 tone fines for the people who don't like jokes. People who are against jokes, bring them to me. Let's see how mad we can upset them. Talking to you, EEI. Bring them.
So you like the jokes, just so we're clear, and then people who object to the jokes?
That's right.
Okay.
Well, but this has been a plague. Look, man, I remember having this conversation in my early 20s with the first manager of the Marlins, Renee Latchman.
Latch.
Thank you, Stugatz, for uselessly offering that.
Well, that's his name.
So I was writing these articles in the Miami Herald, and I was writing a lot of stuff that was making the aforementioned jokes. And Latchman took his job very seriously. And he didn't understand when we were having this conversation. He's like, you're always making jokes in print. What are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I kind of think everything here is a joke. And he's like, no, this is very serious. It's my job. Yeah, it's serious for you. Not really for me.
Joke to me.
All of this is kind of silly. Like, everything we're doing here is pretty silly. Like, you're in the dugout, you're wearing a uniform, doesn't make any sense. You're like 50-something years old. Why are you wearing the uniform? You're coaching, you're managing all of these guys. They're terrible. Like, the team is terrible.
Right.
I'm going to make jokes. So when they sign Ryan Bowen as a pitcher, Ryan Bowen, right, and Ryan Bowen has his record in the big leagues when they signed him, I think was 0-9 or 0-10. So they signed Ryan Bowen.
Bones.
No, that's not his name. They signed Ryan Bowen, and so I say to Marlins fans, you wanted Nolan Ryan. Instead, you get No-Win Ryan.
Ah, damn, I thought you were going to say Bowen 10.
That's good, too. And Latchman's furious, and I'm, like, pleased with myself, because, like, that's a good joke.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Stugatz here. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, like miso butter salmon and lo mein noodles with cucumber and charmed tomatoes, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within a year, so you'll never get bored. Customize your recipes each week based on your preferences. Blue Apron has several delivery options so you can choose what fits your needs. And there's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Stugatz. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Stugatz, STUGOTZ. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Don Le Batard.
You're just allowed to give me one word on what you think. I tell you, American flag, you give me one word on what you think. Go ahead, Chris. You're only allowed one word.
Freedom.
That's what I was going to go with.
Stugatz.
Guillermo.
Bald eagles.
What?
It's 2 words.
Well,
I mean, God, $2.
That's a fine.
$2. I mean,
That's a fine.
Do you realize?
You
realize how hard it is to be that bad with 2 words, man?
Apple pie.
I got 2 words for you.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Guillermo, put this on the poll, please. Can you like someone if you dislike their opinions? The reason I bring this up is because a texter's writing in, watching the show with my brother who dislikes Dan. Now that he knows that you love jokes, he has changed his mind. He thought you were serious all the time with all of your asinine opinions. I don't believe that it's possible to dislike me here in this particular setting unless you disagree with my viewpoints. Because I think what we do here every day is so fun and so silly that it becomes contagious. And if you like it, you are by extension going to like me. I think the people who don't like me are people who think that I'm serious all the time. And they just don't get what it is that we're going for around here. I'm serious sometimes, but the environment that we're creating is meant to be one that is fun and amusing and silly and that you're enjoying yourself. And for those of you who are addicted to this thing that we do, that is the thing that you're addicted to. And it's one of the reasons that Stugats is the star of the show, because he is the cartoonish everyman. But is it possible? I thought about this one time. Who was it? James Carville, and is her name Mary Madeline? I don't know her name because, like I've told you many times, I don't particularly like politics. And I know that you don't want to hear from me on politics. I know that many of you, when you're listening to sports, you don't care what your local or regional or national sports gas bag thinks about politics. You don't want his opinions on that kind of stuff. And so I get that. But I always thought, do you find it weird? They were on diametrically opposed view. They were politically opposites, and yet they got married. And I think they're still married.
Yeah, Dan, there's plenty of people in my life whose opinions I don't agree with, yet I still like them.
But I think when it comes to the sports gas bag, I think that the way this tends to work is you probably don't like anybody who isn't espousing the things that you think. Right? Like when it comes to, I don't know who are your favorite sports gas bags, because I don't know who they are, but I don't know if it's possible to like the sports gas bag who's giving a lot of opinions and you don't agree with any of them.
Right.
You don't agree with anything. I don't know Will Cain at all. I don't think I agree with Will Cain on much of anything. And I think it would be a hindrance. I've been told that Will Cain is delightful, that Will Cain is a lot of fun to be around and that people find him really likable. If you disagree with his opinions on things, sure. I don't know how easy it is to like a gas bag.
I mean, I've met him a few times. He's a very nice guy, fun guy, good sense of humor. But you see him on TV, I understand why people wouldn't like him. But you also don't, there are in many instances, you don't get a chance to meet that person.
But do you agree with my premise, though,
yes.
that there is no one in sports television that you really enjoy, but you don't agree with him on anything? Like, is there such a person? Does that person, because I've told you before that the reason so many people are down on ESPN and the reason so many people are down on specific people at ESPN, it's largely the opinion givers that you have a problem with. They're the most polarizing people. Me, Bomani, Stephen A. Smith, whoever. The people that you have issue with are large. Now, you could say those are the unlikable people as well, but I would say that largely what's happening there is you don't like those people. You don't like us because you don't like our opinion.
Well, it depends on the type of the show they do and delivery and stuff like that. Like, there are plenty of people who don't agree with what Howard Stern is saying, but they like Howard Stern because that show entertains them and makes them laugh.
Well, but I think when it comes to this particular show, tell me if you agree with this, Mike, yes or no. The people who most ardently hate everything that I and we do, those are people who tend to take their sports very seriously.
Sure.
Yeah, they don't get it.
No, but I don't want to dismiss them. They don't do it the way we do it. They
don't get this brand of sports talk show, which is loose on the sports, high on the comedy.
I mean, there are plenty of people right now saying that they don't agree with anything that comes out of your mouth, yet they still like what we do. They like you, and they like the show. They don't agree with a single thing that comes out of your mouth.
Some people hate, some people hate watch and hate listen, but that's not what really I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about, you guys have moaned and groaned before when I say that there aren't people who don't like me. There are just people who don't know me.
Yeah. Well, it's close to moaning and groaning.
Yep.
You did a different...
But what I'm saying
it was
is
a synonym.
That there aren't people who don't like me. There are just people who don't know me. Like, if you get to know me, but that's true of a lot of people,
It
right?
doesn't sound any better now.
Right.
You really?
I'm concerned about people getting to know me. Like, I think they like me as is, but if they got to know me,
Oh, yeah. Sugatsu's
I'm
the
opposite. Yeah.
That's a funny
Keep
thing
your
for
distance.
That's a funny thing for us to discover together. The more you know about me, the more you like me. The more you know about Sugat, the less you're going to like him.
Oh, man. I don't remember ever agreeing with Skip Bayless, but I liked the chemistry between Stephen A. and Skip, and I enjoyed that show. I don't remember agreeing with a single thing that he said.
You agree with him? Yeah. You think Jordan's better than LeBron? It's a pretty big one.
Was that one of his big ones?
Yeah. He doesn't like LeBron. He's got to pick Jordan. In fact, he was tweeting out yesterday that Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving doing this... LeBron, this would have never happened to Jordan, and also it's now open season on LeBron.
Let me change that. Maybe I don't like the way Skip went about giving his opinions. Maybe I did agree with some of them. I didn't like the way he went about doing it, but I still enjoyed the show, and I enjoyed him.
But would that be our chief? Would you agree, or would you say, if you had to nominate one thing, and you could only nominate one thing, the people who hate our show? It doesn't have to be the opinions that I'm expressing, but it is the sensibilities that they're objecting to.
It's the sensibilities.
But they're objecting to they're the people who paint their face and wear jerseys of their favorite athlete, and their avatar is some sports identity of some sort.
Correct.
And
if you go to @Lebatard show, you'll see their faces blown up several times by Dan.
Yep.
But isn't that? But is there another chief source of tension? Is it the politics, right, that I tend to be pro-black causes?
I mean, we have a couple of, side causes. Cleveland doesn't like us very much. Obviously, we have a checkered history with WEEI in Boston. But at the heart of it, I think people that don't like us typically like sports a lot.
But I'm telling you that one of the reactions that I have, because people think that I'm faking it in terms of immunity to criticism, right? That I'm faking it, that the criticism must hurt me. But usually I dismiss most of it with, you just don't agree with how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, which is fine. That's something that you're entitled to. But I've told you before, would you like a network of just Buster Olneys? Would you like a network of just Tim Kirchians? Would you like a network of just Chris Mortensons and Adam Schefters? Is that what you'd like?
I'd like one of just Mike Greenberg's.
Just Mike Greenberg's?
Yep.
I would have thought the joke there to go with is I would like a network of just Stugatz's.
Well, that too, but he's a better Stugatz, a more polished Stugatz. He's everything I want to be. I would have I'd be down with a full network of Mike Greenberg's.
You would?
Why, you think that would get old quickly?
Do I think it would get old quickly?
What has he said that you agree with all the time?
Nothing.
Yeah, but Mike Greenberg doesn't enrage people.
Is there anything that you disagree with?
Has anyone ever been mad at Mike Greenberg's opinion?
Wow.
He's never had one.
Guillermo, that's not true. That's simply not true.
That's what makes him great.
Guillermo,
it's why he's beloved by everyone.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Have you ever objected to one of Mike Greenberg's opinions? No? How can the answer to that be no?
He's greeny. I mean, that's what makes him great. It's why he's the most popular. Him and Scott Van Pelt, I'm telling you. Well, Scott Van Pelt has opinions, though.
Man, we were all looking at the television at the same time trying to figure out what she was wearing.
Josina Anderson looks like she's been sent from the future to do a Sports Center hit.
Yeah, all of us were looking at the television at the same time because she's wearing, is that choker part of, is it part of the dress? Because what happened was the television went out here because of the weather at the same time. I was just looking up at something at the screen and I saw that there was a reporter wearing some sort of choker around her neck and I didn't even identify who she was or what she was wearing, but it looked unusual.
It was Josina, and it looked like a Future costume.
Okay, but what is that? You don't mean Future the rapper, right?
No.
You mean someone from the future?
Yeah.
Don Le Batard.
Lemmy from Motorhead with us. What's going on with you these days?
Not much, we just finished the European tour. and we're going out in America, and then we're going out in Europe again.
Stugats.
And what are those crowds like?
Clouds.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
We will get to the funniest thing from the sports weekend in just a second. There is a lot of good stuff on the list this week, Stugats. I'm liking most of it. You've heard me say this before, that Rob Gronkowski is allowed a certain leeway that people who are minorities are not usually allowed to behave the way Rob Gronkowski does and get away with it. That Gronk has a Gronk card that allows bad behavior. He gets away with it because he's a lovable meathead. And many of you object to it when I say, man, Cam Newton couldn't write in his book the way Gronkowski did, that he would often just cook eggs naked while women were sliding around his apartment on slip and slides.
Right.
But there is a black guy who is afforded that kind of liberty. And it's not Charles Barkley. Do you know who it is? There is a black guy who is afforded Gronky behavior that you're like, oh, I'm not sure if that's good, but I'll defend that behavior anyway because it's blank.
No idea.
Marshawn Lynch.
Pretty good.
Marshawn Lynch did some stuff here. He crashed the NFL Network set, was cursing, and appeared to be hitting on the woman. Who was there, looking her up and down. And he gets permitted a wider berth on that kind of behavior because he's kooky Marshawn Lynch.
It's Marshawn being Marshawn. It's
Yes.
Manny being Manny. It's Gronk being Gronk.
There aren't many who get that liberty. Vin Baker going to join us in 10 minutes, but let's go ahead and do funniest thing from the sports weekend.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha, ha, ha!
Bats and info, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The NFL Network spending an entire segment predicting wins and losses for the Seattle Seahawks. The only problem, they did last season's schedule.
Imagine if someone got one wrong.
Well, I'm sure they got them all wrong, right? They couldn't have predicted correctly the games from last season.
Yeah. I got to find a new one, by the way, because Fat Chris stole mine.
It was a good one. Guillermo, what is your favorite funniest thing from the sports weekend?
James Harden had a banner in his honor hanging now in a strip club.
A Houston
he spent
strip
so
club.
much money
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You know you're dangerously close to getting fined there, right? Because of how you did that. $1. Half a fine. $1 because you stunk. Roy, funniest thing from the sports weekend.
In Milwaukee, Chris Christie got into a argument with a Cubs fan during the Brewers-Cubs game while tightly holding on to a couple nachos.
Of course.
Perfect.
Isn't he always? Either that or M&M's, peanut M&M's. Mike, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Danilo Gallinari signed with the Clippers this offseason and then immediately becomes a true Clipper by breaking his thumb while throwing a punch in an international game. The Clippers now have two guys in their starting five that broke their hands in fights.
That's funny. What do you got, Stugats?
There was a picture from the Baseball Hall of Fame over the weekend. It was Tim Raines, Randy Johnson, Frank Thomas, and I was thinking to myself, wow, Tim Raines looks like he's a lot taller than I remembered, because he was almost as tall as Randy Johnson, but Tim Raines was standing on a chair.
That'll do it. And I'm going to go with Blake Bortles throwing 5 interceptions in the first Jacksonville practice. Now you know why their coach, before I mention his name, Guillermo, put it on the poll. Do you know the coach of the Jacksonville Jags?
Wow.
Yes
Not
or
anymore.
no?
Not anymore.
Yes or no?
Oh, wait, no. I know it.
Hold on. Don't.
I know it.
Nope.
I got it.
All right, go ahead.
Wait a minute. What did you just do?
Oh, I didn't want.
Did you
Well,
want to
first
take
off,
a guess?
I
You
wanted to take a
guess?
stab at it,
Go
but I
take a
cannot
stab.
think of it for the life of
Take a
me.
stab.
It's not Jack. We're too removed from Jack Del Rio.
It's not Gus Bradley. Were you
I was
going to
thinking
guess?
maybe it was. Yeah, because he always, after every bad year, Gus Bradley still had a job. I figured he was still the guy.
It's not. It's a funny name, though.
You got
St. Doug. Doug Marrone.
Oh, God.
Doug Marrone said that if it were up to him, his game plan would be to never pass the ball. And it was viewed, that's what he actually said, in the modern age, it was viewed as a compliment of Leonard Fournette, but it's not. It's like, look who my quarterback is, man.
Would you pass?
Like, I want to get a really good punter, and I want to hand off 3 times.
And play some defense.
I wish Marrone would just say, like, look who my quarterback is. I want to run the ball because look at Bortles. 5 interceptions in our first practice when no one's allowed to hit him. You just saw why Brandon Albert retired. He's like, no, man. I'm not going to be chasing down guys who have the offense's football. I'm not going to spend the season chasing guys down the sidelines. Get out of here. I quit.
On pick 6.
Yes, I'm done. I am not chasing defensive backs who have the football. It took Brandon Albert one practice to realize, no. Keep your $1 million.
Because Marrone was saying to Albert, hey, when he throws interceptions, and he's going to throw them often, you have to sprint to get the guy who's going the other way.
No sprinting. My knees are bad. I'm not going to chase down those guys. I just love that the Jags are saying, nah, Kaepernick can't help us.
All the teams are saying
No, I know they are. But the Jags specifically, nah. We got it covered with this guy who throws 5 interceptions in the first practice.
Wearing the red jersey.
Honestly. I just love that quote from Marrone, though. If I had my druthers, I would never pass the ball. Like Blake Bortles is crying into his cereal when he's reading that, right?
Well, he's certainly not giving that quote if his quarterback is Aaron Rodgers.
Don Batard.
Is it fair to say that Stugatz isn't trying very hard?
Stugatz.
Duh.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Vin Baker was a very good basketball player, was on a dream team. Vin Baker made a lot of money. Vin Baker has a new book out, God and Starbucks. And Starbucks helped him get on a more disciplined path after basketball. He was getting up, Stugatz, at 3:45. He was opening stores 3:45 in the morning, ready to serve customers 4:30 in the morning after a long and lucrative NBA career. And again, the name of the book, God and Starbucks, an NBA superstar's journey through addiction and recovery. Vin Baker with us now on ESPN Radio. Thank you, Vin, for joining us. Why did you decide to share your story through a book?
Well, Dan, first of all, I'm a big fan of the show, and thanks for having me on. The reason I decided to share it with a book, Dan, is because, I had an opportunity to share my story on a platform that not a lot of people get who've gone through recovery like I have. And, the opportunity presented itself, and, I looked at it as a chance to help people in recovery or help people avoid, the pitfalls that I had as a professional athlete. So, the book for me is just an opportunity to share my journey and more importantly, to steer people away from the pitfalls of addiction and how it stung me. So I was happy to share it. It presented itself. I was in a place of my recovery that I thought I was capable to do it responsibly. So that's why I chose to write the book, Dan.
What was the hardest thing, Vin, to revisit in the book?
To be honest with you, Dan, I just think the entire book itself and reliving the NBA years and talking about being an all-star and then certainly in losing my career to alcoholism, I think when I sat down to write the book and go over those times in my life, that was a difficult time to revisit. But again, with sobriety, 6 years of sobriety, I'm happier that I'm in this place now than I was then as an NBA player struggling with addiction. So just remind, not from the standpoint of the basketball or the money, but just the struggle it was. That was the toughest part, revisiting or thinking about it again and then putting it on paper, is wow, I had to say wow myself. That was a tumultuous time and a tough time. So that was the toughest part of it.
Again, the new book, God and Starbucks, available now wherever books are sold. I have it in front of me. I have not read it yet, so please help me with this, Vin, if you don't mind. Did you ever play drunk or high?
Yeah, it's well detailed in the book that I did play under the influence multiple times in my career. It just became what I try to detail in the book, Dan, is that, it starts off social for, I think, most people. And for me, it started off social, having fun, part of the crew and the NBA, life, nightlife. And then for me, it became an addiction. And so it went from hanging out at night or weekends or after games to, waking up one morning and feeling like I needed to do it, like my body had to have it. And so, to your question, Dan, I had done it before games as well.
Did you play well, drunk or high?
It wasn't necessarily that I played. I certainly didn't play, as good as I could have played if I was, not using. But there were games that I played well. There were games that I functioned well, and then there was, times obviously where the addiction and the alcoholism took over, and I could no longer play under the influence. So there was games that I played well. Yes.
How common was that in the NBA, Vin?
Well, I can't speak for anyone else as far as how often they did it. For me, everyone's not an addict and everyone's not an alcoholic. For me, it became an issue. So I can't speak to anyone else doing it as much as I did. But I think in the professional sports world, it's a culture of alcohol and drinking. So. But for me, it became a problem, and that's what I attempted to do in the book. I talk about my journey as a young man in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, growing up in the church, and then eventually getting this amazing NBA career, 4-time All-Star in 5 years, and succumbing to alcoholism. And so I try to share how I got to this point of sobriety today.
The name of the book, God and Starbucks, an NBA superstar's journey through addiction and recovery. I'm going to give you a quote here, read it to you, to the audience. Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, on Baker, quote, I have known Vin Baker for a very long time, going back to his days as an enormously likable and talented professional basketball player whose struggles with addiction and anxiety derailed what may have been a magnificent NBA career. I have also had the pleasure of watching Vin humbly and heroically rebuild his life from the ground up, that journey of redemption, of finding salvation through family faith and the simple pleasures of doing an honest day's work is at once heartbreaking and hopeful, and is captured brilliantly in Vin's memoir. I'm curious, Vin, how much was the anxiety responsible for the drinking and drugging?
Well, I think to be honest with you, Dan, I think it was reversed. I think the drinking and the drugging can bring on anxiety, especially when you're in a place of you don't realize that you have become an addict to alcoholism. I think my anxiety eventually came from the alcohol use and the drug use and the marijuana use. So I think it was reversed. I think once I was doing it every single day, the anxiety just of being a professional athlete. And for me, Dan, I had built this career of being an all-star coming from a small school at the University of Hartford where, now my expectations each year rose. I probably could have had something similar to a Karl Malone career of 12, 13, 14, 15 years as an all-star. So I think, and contractually, my stock rose. And I think that those things added. So I was kind of living this double life of being this NBA all-star, but I also had this issue off the court. So in order to kind of calm the noise down, I would drink more and drink more. And I think that it ultimately added to my addiction, as my anxiety, especially when I became an alcoholic.
Did the money make it worse or better?
I think it made it worse, Dan, because, I'd put so enormous pressure on myself coming, again, from a small town and a small college and having to kind of overcome the odds. When I became an all-star, I stayed at this level like, man, I got to get better. It's not enough. But ironically, the more I made all-stars, the more famous I got, and the more I started to succumb to the off-the-court life, as opposed to continually having that chip on my shoulder to be a better basketball player, I started to, feel like I had arrived. And that, unfortunately, that was the beginning of the downfall as far as my career was concerned.
Again, God and Starbucks, an NBA superstar's journey through addiction and recovery. The book is out now. Vin Baker with us on ESPN Radio. I'm curious, Vin, as you went through all of this, as you experienced this and it ravaged you, what is the worst of it? You mentioned drinking in the morning, feeling the need to drink in the morning, but at its worst, what are the details of how much you were using?
It was probably after my, career was gone, Dan. It was just every morning waking up. And when I decided to stop drinking, 6.5 years ago, my body was I was a shell of myself physically. I'd lost so much weight, as opposed to when I was drinking. And in the pros, I'd gained so much. At this particular juncture, when I hit rock bottom physically, I was about 220, 225. And at my playing career, my height of my success, I was 255, 260. So physically, the bottom came when I was losing weight and I was essentially dying. It was like a slow death. And, for me, spiritually, it wasn't even the career or the foreclosure of the house or the money. It was just I had lost my way spiritually. I just didn't, it didn't matter to me that the lifestyle, the money was gone. It's just that I had no way. When you become an addict, an alcoholic, you lose motivation, you lose the will to live and the will to do good. And I had lost that. So that was really rock bottom. I didn't place it on, I lost my money and I lost my restaurant. I really put it on, I don't have any hope right now. And so that was the whole God and Starbucks. The God part was going back to the church and reinventing myself spiritually. Because no one was going to give me an opportunity if I didn't get myself together spiritually. And then once I got my mind together, I made up my mind that I was going into rehab. I stayed for 4 days then, and then, the rest, it's been 6.5 years, and things have turned around for me.
Ben, my apologies because I'm asking a question that requires probably a longer answer. We only have 60 seconds here. It's reported that you lost over $100 million. A lot of people asking themselves, how is that possible? I'm asking you, how?
Well, just bad. When you're an alcoholic, Stugotz, it's not even about, I know it's a lot of money. That takes precedence in the story, the money, but I'd almost lost my life. And to be honest with you, I would rather have lost all of that and gained my sobriety than have the money and still floating around as an alcoholic thinking with no worries. Because that's what happens a lot. So, bad investment. When you're an alcoholic, a lot of things can happen. I'm probably the only person who's been in that addiction world who's lost a lot of money. I'm just thankful and grateful that I have my life, I have my family, I have my kids. My son is at Boston College. There's a lot of wonderful things going on in my life, and thank God I didn't lose my life. So the money was the easy part. I'm just happy to have my life and my family back.
Can you articulate to people the details of withdrawal, how hard that was?
Yeah, that's, as you mentioned earlier, Dan, that's when the anxiety comes. That's when I found out there's a real issue because you start to feel like I can't do without it. Your attitude, your mood swings, the sweat, you physically can feel the palpitations of the heart. Then you know that there's a real issue, and you might try to play it off in your mind like, I'm just having a bad day. But it's actually withdrawals. The symptoms seem like regular things, headaches, I'm sweating, I'm anxious. And when that calms down, when you have your first drink, then you know that there's a real issue there.
Then talk to you tomorrow? We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Please.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll call you tomorrow.
All right. All right. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Thank you, man.
Thanks to God. All right.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Good, yeah.
What happened, Mike? What happened?
I think he processed that oddly. I'm not sure he got what was
all right,
going on.
We'll talk to him tomorrow.
Dan Batard.
Yanni Adebabubu.
Stugotz.
Giannis Adebabumbo.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz, update the polls here, and in between the updating of the polls, I'm going to rip Mina Kimes, who has just come in here and just made herself so at home in a way that is really deeply uncomfortable for everybody involved. She's eating chicken wings nonstop here, stolen chicken wings.
Oh, what?
Chicken wings that
Stolen.
chicken wings that she was requesting.
Stealing it.
Hold on a second, Mina. chicken wings that she was requesting by text as Stugatz, who has all sorts of trouble listening, was trying to listen to a Vin Baker interview.
I mean, ADD to the max. We're conducting a serious interview and an interview that I'm interested in, and I get not one, but two.
What did they say? Read
texts.
the text, because last time she was here, she just stole everybody's lunch.
Hey, can I have a couple of your wings? No worries if you're still eating.
Unbelievable, man.
Followed up by, I don't want to get a reputation around here as a food thief.
Right.
Listen.
Yes.
No. What happened was, last time I was here, I ate Billy's tacos, not knowing that they weren't communal tacos, so I didn't want to put myself in the same...
Assuming they were communal tacos.
Sorry for being a good person.
Why is that?
You're not being good.
Wait a minute. How did you
ate it.
turn this into you being a good person instead of simply a taco thief?
Put it on the poll. How polite was that, or whatever you guys do?
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. She's now waving a half-eaten chicken wing filled with blue cheese at all of us. Update the polls, Stugatz.
I will. The Twitter poll is brought to you by Upside. Now say big on travel and get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com. That's Upside.com. Is 9.5 games out of the wild card in the mix?
Making some noise.
69% of the audience said no. Would you like Dan to leave the local hour permanently so Stugatz can do wake and take? 51% of the audience said no, Dano. You're good. See you tomorrow morning. Is PBR on tap the greatest? 76% of the audience said no. How much would you pay a charity so you could chloroform Dan? 65% of the audience said less than $5,000. Don't feel so good about yourself. Second place was 24%. Who would pay more than $10,000. Are 80% of Charles Bronson's movies good? 71% of the audience said no. Who is allegedly using more steroids? 54% of the audience said Brock Lesnar. Okay. Would you pay a small monthly fee to watch NBA players at the weddings of other NBA players? 66% of the audience said no.
What?
Is Mike Ryan a cheap coward for buying a beard brush in New York and returning it in Miami to avoid the salesperson? 77% of the audience said yes. Is $65 too much for a beard brush? 91% of the audience said yes. Is LeBron James now the old and corny one? 68% of the audience said yes.
Mina, you are such a thief. Such a thief!
Oh, my thief!
Defend yourself!
I literally asked for permission to eat them. That is
We'll talk to you mañana. This was the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.